Send it Down Beach Current were notified of this meeting. A copy of the same was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Would you please take a second and turn off all electronic equipment, including your cell phones? We're going to stand for the flag salute. Today I'm going to ask Mr. Binswanger to please. Mr. Binswanger, would you please lead us in the flag salute? No. No. Attention. I salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please, Tom?
Mr. Becker? Here. Mr. Blumberg? Here. Mr. Talby?
Here.
First item for discussion, we need to come up with a resolution statement for the upcoming non-binding election. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 4 versions, and I think we should talk about this to get this resolved so we can get it on the 5 o'clock agenda.
Mayor Blumberg, I make a motion that we accept alternate number 4. It's a non-binding resolution, and the question is, if approved by the voters, it will give direction to the Margate City Board of Commissioners to enter into a cooperative agreement so as to implement the aforesaid Absecon Island Shore Protection Project. The Shore Protection Project will include a beach nourishment and the construction of sand dunes on the public beaches of Margate. The initial placement of sand and dune grass has been advised to be free. Costs for obtaining easements from residential property owners in the Margate Fishing Pier, as well as future costs of maintenance and replenishment, are unknown at this time.
I want to tell everybody where I was coming from on this. There's a difference of opinion, basically, between the 3 commissioners on what the resolution should say and what the statement should be. There's been some give and take here. I never thought that it should include a dollar amount because we really don't know what that dollar amount is. And in my mind only, this is a question to go to the public to basically say yes or no. No would mean it's the end of the dune issue. Yes would mean to continue exploring and gathering information. Having said that, I was originally in favor of alternate 3, but I would, at this point, like the second alternate 4 that Mrs. Talby just proposed.
Okay, and so, with all due respect, if I ask my kids would they like a hot fudge sundae with wet nuts and whipped cream, they're going to say yes. If I don't tell them that it's ladled with poison, they still will say yes. But after they eat it, they may die. And so, not to be melodramatic, if we're going to ask the people to vote for something, on something, we have to give them as much information as we possibly can. In that regard, just because we don't know, and I agree with you, Mike, that we don't know all the costs, and we can only speculate that the costs are going to be X, we are obligated to put in this question the fact that we know there's going to be costs, and we've done our due diligence, and we have some idea that this project is going to cost the taxpayers money, and that it's going to, not only is it going to cost them money initially, that it's going to cost them money down the road and on an annual basis. And in that regard, I spent a pretty good amount of time with the solicitor and with our business administrator, as well as with the clerk, to come up with what we have written in alternate 2, which gives us some idea that the initial cost will be probably close to $500,000, with costs in addition to that related to obtaining easements, legal fees, extending the outflow pipes. The people need to know this if we're going to ask them to vote in a binding or a non-binding way. And in addition to that, that there are annual maintenance costs and that there may be costs associated with, this long-term contract that the Corps and the DEP are asking us to sign. I do not agree with the language in alternate 2 that says not to exceed. We can't put that in there, in my opinion, because if it does exceed, we have signed a contract. We are still obligated to pay. So at $501,000, we can't say we quit. We've signed up. So it's misleading to let the voters believe that we have any chance in saying we quit. We are entering into a contract with them. So the not to exceed language doesn't work for me. The dollar language in alternate 2 does work for me, and I think that, again, we're obligated to let the voters know that we have done. And for the record, there are so many unanswered questions. I don't believe, and what we're saying is that we're going to agree on this. We haven't heard from the Corps and the DEP, who are coming tonight at 6:30. There are so many unanswered questions related to this project, the design of the project, the cost of the project, how it's going to impact the way Margate residents enjoy the beach, all those things that we're hoping that maybe the Corps and the DEP will answer tonight. We're putting the cart before the horse here by trying to come up with language for a resolution and then vote on it at 5 o'clock and then listen to them at 6:30. So independent of all that, my proposal would be that since the 6:30 meeting has been advertised and we can take action there, if we are going to vote on a resolution and the language of a resolution, we should give ourselves the opportunity to modify it after the 6:30 meeting. So I don't think we should. First of all, I feel like I'm being pressured to, put something together, talk about it, and my understanding is that it has to be up to the state tomorrow. So we have one day
To the county.
To the county board of
tomorrow.
finance.
We have one day to do this. Anyway, that's how I feel about this. I feel uneasy about the whole thing still.
As we all do. The bottom line is, for the folks that don't realize, we're kind of under the gun in that to get this on the referendum in November, we have to have a resolution and a statement to the County Board of Elections tomorrow, August 16th. And that is why you're right about some of the things. And I understand that we don't have a lot of answers, and that's why I don't want to get too specific about this. Those answers will start coming tonight. We should set up a series of meetings so the public is informed, and we talked about this before. And the non-binding issue in November will be yes or no. If it's no, as I said before, it's overdone. If it's yes, we continue down the road collecting information going forward. I'm very comfortable with
Right,
all of this.
and Mike, there's going to be people that go into that voting booth who are mostly concerned about their wallets and their tax bill. And what are they going to pay? What is this going to cost them? So if we don't have some idea of what it's going to cost them, they'll be inclined to read it and say, oh, it's free, and say yes. And so we won't get an honest evaluation, and that's what we're looking for. So we're looking for something honest. So in that regard, we're going to hear from the experts. We'll be able to ask them questions tonight. We've already talked to, we've individually talked to Scott and to Rich and to other towns about what this is costing them. I have data from Avalon that they've spent $8 million of taxpayer money since 2005. So, there's costs. There's maintenance costs and there's initial costs. We know for a fact that we have 4 outflow pipes that are going to have to be extended. The DEP didn't know that. They thought we only had one. And we're going to pay a percentage of the cost to extend those metal outflow
25%.
pipes all the way out to the, to the ocean. And so that could be...
25%.
You're right. And so that could be, who knows what it costs to run the, 10 or 12-inch diameter pipe. Ed, do we have an idea how big those pipes will be? My guess is that alone... Okay, so my guess is that alone could run in the neighborhood of, several $100,000 that we would be obligated to. And so,
You're saying the total cost of the project?
No. I don't, again, I'm not a pipe fitter, so I don't know what it costs to run a linear
But then you're
foot of
misleading the
pipe.
people. My question is, you're saying several $100,000 the total cost of extending
Or expense.
before, whereas at Margate's, I think you should be very clear to the
Yeah, I think Margate's burden would be in the neighborhood of several $100,000 to do that.
Well, at this point, all I know is that
We would be responsible for 25%, if I'm not mistaken.
Whatever that might be. Understanding
But
that...
you came up with a price at the last meeting. What was that price? We can go back on the recording and say, I don't remember what it was.
There's currently prices being formulated right now for Atlantic City, but they're in the neighborhood, but they're for 100 feet of outfall, okay? Based on the old plans that we had from 2000, we're showing that our outfall pipes are somewhere between 500 and 600 feet of extension.
Each?
So we're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, we would have to be in that range. I just don't know if it's 200 or 500 or 700.
Is that the total cost of the project? Or our
No,
portion?
our percentage.
No, the total cost of the project.
Okay, so 2 or
So our
300, 25% of that.
25% is $700,000, $175,000.
Right.
Is that correct?
It would be
It's not
25% of whatever that
$700,000.
number is,
Okay.
yes.
Just want to make that clear. Okay.
And again, I'm in agreement with you that we don't have an idea, but we know that it's something. It's not $1. And so when we ask the people, that they should know that it's more than $1, Mike. And so to not put a dollar figure in there, again, I think misleads the people. I think it's not transparent.
We don't know the dollar figure, but you want a dollar figure in there.
I think we should put in an estimated value.
Okay.
Every business.
I disagree.
Every business that's going to enter
I disagree
into
too. I don't wanna-
some kind of agreement has an idea of the estimated cost. Tell the people what you think
But
the
we're not-
idea of the
I don't want to
estimated cost.
overestimate or
Just
underestimate.
asking the people for direction, Maury. And you understand? We are going to have...
I understand that.
We are going to have meetings, both the people
Right.
for the project
Are-
and the people that are against the
Are we
project.
going to ask the people, do they want, people, some people may be way more inclined to spend $10 than they might be inclined to spend $100. That's all I'm saying. And so if you ask them, and/or don't tell them, then you're not doing them a service. I don't want to, beat it to death, but that's how, and again, maybe we'll have a better idea, maybe you'll have a better comfort level after we hear from the Corps at 6:30.
I think-
And we can ask these questions. They know what it costs to run an alpha. They're going to know, they will know what it costs if we have a storm in 2 years that washes away these dunes. They're going to tell us, they will be able to tell us what our liability is going to be so that we can tell the people that, you know what, if these dunes are washed away in a storm next year and we need to rebuild these dunes, they're going to be able to tell us what we're going to have to pay.
You're assuming that we're having dunes, and the people haven't told us that yet.
I understand that, but we're asking them, they need to know what they're in for. You gotta know what you're up against.
Maury, we have a pretty good idea based on our closed session meeting we had with the DEP and the Army Corps. And I've met with them personally, and I've been on the phone back and forth
Okay,
with
so
my
answer
own
my
personal
question.
questions.
Answer my question.
Go ahead.
If next year we have a storm that washes away these dunes and all the fencing and all the grasses, are they coming in for free and replacing them?
If we don't do the dunes, I think
No,
that our
you didn't
chances
answer my
are that
question.
they might not. No, let me finish what my point is. The point is that the Sandy damage that we've had already, the government has reimbursed us already. They've committed so far to reimburse us 90% of our cost. That's $2.7 million that they've committed so far to reimburse us. If we don't do the dunes and protect our coast, are they going to be as willing as they were
Certainly,
this
that's
past
not the
year?
question I asked you, and certainly I don't have the answer to that question, nor do I think the DEP will come in and say, if you don't build dunes, or if you don't build dunes, you're no longer required, or you will no longer benefit, and you will no longer get any federal money. If that is in fact the case, if they are holding a gun to our head, well then let's ask them, are we being held, hostage here if we don't do this? Because that's a game changer. That absolutely is a game changer.
And would you in reality expect anyone to answer that question?
No, and so in that regard, I would never ask it. Why suppose it?
Okay, so if
It's
we're not gonna-
it's an unfair
If we're not
question.
going to ask it, let's stick to which
Okay,
one
my
of these...
question of
four-
Brenda was, which she hasn't yet answered, if a year from now, the dunes that we built are washed away and the fencing and the gates and the posts are damaged, are they going to replace them for free, or will
I
we
don't
be
know, but I bet
obligated?
you we will have had less damage if we had the dunes there than if we didn't have them. I just want to say, 10 years ago, I was against the dunes. Sandy was a game changer for me.
Dunes would have done nothing for us in Sandy, nothing. All the streets that flooded, all the beach block flooding that we had, Winchester Avenue, Ventnor Avenue, all the bayfronts would have flooded. The dunes would have done nothing for us.
Look at Ventnor. I'm not going to argue this. Let's wait for the experts.
I'm looking at Ventnor.
To be
I
fair-
look at Ventnor. I look at, excuse 1 minute, let me just finish my point, Mike. Let me finish my point.
To be fair, if Sandy had hit 50 miles south, we probably wouldn't be here talking. But that's all conjecture, and you can't say that. We could have a storm tomorrow.
I understand it. If is a big, big thing. If.
All the ifs.
You know what they say about if, and I won't say it publicly, but the fact of the matter is that these dunes, with the storm that we had, would have done nothing. The damage that we had was related to nine properties on the beach block. And you know what? The major damage that we had was in all the other areas in our town.
It's
Certainly not on the beach block.
Marty,
These
it is
dunes,
not
Mike,
about Sandy. It is about protecting the city of Margate.
wait a minute. In a category 1 or 2 hurricane, those dunes will give us, the experts say, an extra 20 minutes of protection. And for 20 minutes, we're gonna sign up to something which we know nothing about. And we are not able to tell the taxpayers what it's gonna cost them. And you know what? The people that I talk to on the beach block, they don't want these dunes. And we're saying, you know what? These dunes are for you. And they don't want them.
Never said.
There's something crazy about that.
I have never said that these dunes are for the people.
Well, you're saying they're to protect the city of Margate.
That is correct.
In reality, in a Cat 1 or 2, they will give us 20 extra minutes before they are washed away. And what no one seems to understand or want to discuss is that we have 8 and 10-foot high bulkheads throughout the city. Everybody continues to say to me, you know what? Hey, in this town up north, it was what a lot of these towns, Mike, their houses are built right on the beach. They had no dunes. They had no bulkheads.
But
So it's really not a fair comparison.
with all the preaching and all this going on, we're asking for a statement to go on the ballot so that the people can choose. This is not obligating anybody to anything.
Right. I
other than to
understand
go to
that.
the election.
Let them know.
Okay.
Why are we
Let us-
afraid
let us
to
get
let
it.
them know that we know that there's money going to be spent?
And I'm
To
sure,
my knowledge, it's going to cost us zero except for 25% of the outfall pipes and the engineer fees associated with it.
And what about the cost of the easements?
There was a credit available, and you were at the meeting, you learned about the credit.
I understand there's a credit available, but I said, what about the cost of the easements?
we don't know what that is, so how
Okay.
can we intelligently
But
discuss
they're
it?
certainly not going to be free.
Maureen, why don't you ask
don't know what
Keith Watson when he's here at 6:30, please?
Well, because I'm being asked to agree to a resolution
Well, we're not
that I
being-
know there's cost involved. And for some reason, you're afraid to let the people know that there's cost involved.
No, it doesn't. It does not say that.
My motion stands.
It's, for those of you who do not have the copy, does the public have a copy?
No, we didn't make 4 copies already.
The last part of the statement is the part that will go on the ballot, is explanatory. I'll just read it to you. Costs for obtaining easements from residential property owners and the Margate Fishing Pier, as well as future costs of maintenance and replenishment, are unknown at this time. Can't be any more clear than that. Would you agree with that?
I agree, but in the language that I like, it says, expenditures of funds will be incurred for maintenance and replenishment over the life of the project, estimated at approximately $200,000 annually. Additional costs may include the obtaining of easements from residential property owners and the Margate Fishing Pier.
But, Maureen,
And
how
so
do-
now you've given the people an idea that in our annual budget, we're going to be setting aside $200,000.
But how do you know it's going to cost $200,000? This renourishment cycle, we may not need sand in 3
That
years.
will be on the next, if this referendum votes, if the people vote yes, then we will have to at some point, am I correct, Solicitor, go to referendum if it so moves forward. This is not telling us to move forward. This is telling us to gather information and to explore.
Right. But again, you're trying to get a honest feel from the people who are going to come out.
And you're saying that some unknown number is going to make it more honest.
Not unknown, at least a number. It's an estimate. You know, if you're going to go build a new house, you call the architect and you say, hey, how much do you think this house is going to cost me to build? And he'll tell you, it's going to be $125 a square feet, a square foot to build the house. And then when you go and you add, granite countertop, he's going to tell you, well, that's going to add this. So what we're telling the people is, hey, here's a starting point for you. That's all we're telling them. We're giving them a starting
The
point.
starting point is
For these new
25% of the
duties.
outfall cost. That's what the starting point is. We can get a more precise figure, you can get a more precise figure. It's the referendum question isn't until November. There's plenty of time for you to get that number out. And you can attempt to sway one way or another. Thankfully, we live in a democracy, and all we're voting on right now is a resolution and wording for the referendum. I think it's fair for both sides.
In a way, I agree with you, Commissioner. I just don't think your timing is right. I think that somewhere down the road, if this passes, we should have that information before it goes to referendum for approval. I really do. We certainly can't now. And I seconded this. We really can't vote here anyhow, can we?
Not right now, you can't, but I did want to point out to you that the meeting at 6:30 was noticed and advertised that action may be taken, and I just wanted to say that if you wanted to try and wait until the Army Corps was done their presentation, questions will be asked and answered. You may have a little more information to be able to vote on your resolution at 8 o'clock.
Well, I think the stickler is the exact cost, and I don't know that we're going to have an
Well,
exact
they may
cost
not,
for the outfall.
but what's the harm in waiting 2 hours? Why do you have to do it at 5? Can't you do it at 8? You may have more information, that's all I'm
I've been
saying.
in meetings since March with the DEP, with the Corps of Engineers, and 2 hours is not going to make any difference, I'm sure. I know the way they operate, I'm very comfortable doing it at 5 o'clock, but thank you.
That was a grand testament to the Corps and the DEP, that we're getting ready to enter into a 40-year agreement with them.
You know, it's not even, I don't know where everybody gets 40 years from. I mean, the original agreement is 10 years old, okay? I was told that it's going to stay in place until Congress deauthorizes it.
Seeing as we have discussed that,
Maybe we should ask for public input. We want public input at this time?
we will have public input.
What does happen, though, if Congress
As we always
deauthorizes it?
do.
Okay.
What happens if Congress deauthorizes it, though?
They don't do the nourishment anymore.
And
And
then-
you have to pay 75% of the nourishment.
So the city of Margate and the state would have to pay all that?
It would have to be worked out, yeah, or
Right.
you don't
So
take the
again, in
sand.
my scenario, if after Congress says, you know what, we're no longer interested in this program, and these dunes need to be maintained or rebuilt, like in Ventnor, where they had the storm and then they'd have cliffs.
Maury, we already maintain our
then
own
we have to
dunes
do
anyway.
that.
We have dunes that we maintain.
We maintain the dunes.
Frank
Okay.
Rochelle, we maintain the dunes that we have now, correct?
Maybe Brenda,
See?
Give her a chance.
right, maybe you don't understand or maybe I don't, the giant nature of what we are about to undertake here. And in that regard, I ask you, tomorrow, just go take a walk on the boardwalk from Fredericksburg down to Dorset, and look at those dunes, and look at the ponding, and look at the puddles, and look at the trash, and look at the mosquitoes, and look at the damaged and broken fencing, and then tell me that that's what you want to subject the people of Margate to. Just go look.
I want to protect the people of Margate. But you know what? All we're deciding right now is on this resolution and the wording for the referendum.
But again,
We're voting.
and I understand that, Brenda, but I think you need to take a little better look at what you're signing up the people of Margate to. And you don't have to go
Signing it
far.
yet, Maury. Come
Nobody's
on.
signing.
Well, I can tell you
For you,
that,
Maury, for the third time today, and for the people, we are not signing you up for anything other than to express your opinion at the polls, yes or no, period. Okay? Let us move on.
Great.
I have here something that's affiliated. We have a letter, Dan, we have a letter from a group for beach preservation who is requesting the use of this room for a series of meetings. I have said from day one, for a few weeks ago, that we should do this. I would assume that it's okay with you, Commissioner? Commissioner? Okay. Dan, if you could get us some dates that are convenient, make sure that the room is available, as many as you need, and we'll move forward with that. Okay? We will now go to department reports. Ed, you want to start?
Oh, yeah, everyone has a copy of my report. There's not a lot of activity right now. The only thing we did solicit quotes to do a proper reconnection of the generator at a Fire Station 2. And
The damage, no, it's Fire Station 1.
But anyway,
Sorry.
we received two quotes, one from Calvi Electric, one from Scalfo. Scalfo was $19,960 or $980, and Calvi was $23,449. I have to talk to Rich relative to the funding on this, but what it entails is taking the old generator used to be at City Hall on Washington Avenue years ago, is at Fire Station 2 now. We have it hooked up so-so. This is to do a permanent connection to it so that we have full power. Right now, we don't have full power there. This would provide full power for the fire station and the trailer that's there. So that's about the only thing of any, other than the road program is scheduled to start the week of the 16th of September from the asphalt paving system. And we do have all the cost estimates put together for the roads that Frank and I came up with for the road program. We need to schedule an engineering committee meeting and go through those roads to determine what we can afford to do this year.
Okay. Do you know the roads that are being, do you have the list of roads that are being
Yeah,
done in the fall?
they're in the report there.
Okay. And
They're on the second page of my engineer's
would you
report.
just, for the public, would you just read those roads? please?
Okay, the roads that we did the estimates for were Benson Avenue from Atlantic to the beach, Claremont Avenue from Fremont to Wellington, Douglas Avenue from Atlantic to Ventnor, Exeter Avenue from Atlantic to the beach, Granville Avenue from Atlantic to the beach, Huntington Avenue from Marshall to Lagoon, Marshall Avenue from Douglas to Minnie Creek, and we had some other estimates for Bayshore Drive West from Lagoon to the dead end, Benson Avenue from Ventnor to Winchester, and Mansfield Avenue from Atlantic to the beach. You'll notice there's a lot of beach blocks in there. We suffered a lot of damage to our infrastructure from either the storm, the sand, or the trucks, but we haven't done many beach block repairs in years, so it's time to get some of those fixed.
Thank you. Chief Tabasco, are you done yet? I'm sorry. Thank you.
I really have nothing to report. The department's doing very well. We've been very busy, except for yesterday's accident. I'm sure everybody here knows about it. The new firehouse got a little black eye. But if you go by and look at it, you can't even tell. The door company had some extra panels that they put onto our door that was crashed through. And from the outside, you can't even tell. Even though there still needs to be repairs, we're good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Frank?
Pardon me? As far as I know, the driver's doing fine. I'm not exactly sure, I can't disclose what caused that yet, but she's doing well.
Thank you. Frank?
Yeah, we're very busy. We're still doing 7 days a week. We'll be doing that through September. We're still working the beaches, and we still have a lot of work on the street to do. There's a lot of building going on, so we anticipate a lot of water and sewer just to be installed, and we're just, hitting it every day.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Lisa?
The only thing I have is that seeking authorization to go ahead and instruct our brokers to obtain our claims experience for our health renewal. If you recall, last meeting I mentioned that the rates had come out for the state health benefit plan, and it's been recommended by our brokers to obtain our claims experience so they could shop the market. The cost is $2,000, the same as last year, and with your approval, I'm going to prepare a letter and submit that.
Fine with me. Brandon? Okay with you?
Yes.
Is that
Marty?
okay?
Goodbye, me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Rich?
Two things, Mayor. The first is that, as you know, we've had a series of negotiations with employee unions over the past 6 or 8 months in this calendar year, and the police PBA contract is all but wrapped up at this time. We're just reviewing final wording, and I would expect to have a final report and a resolution on the next regular agenda to ask you to consider executing a contract with the PBA. The second item that I just want to remind people, we talk about storms, and we're well into operations, and we concentrated in the springtime on getting ready all of our buildings so we could continue to operate. As everybody knows, we're still making modifications to this building, which we'll be continuing to do using capital dollars that we've already appropriated. We spent a lot of time in the spring on the lifeguard headquarters. There was some talk of raising that. I'd like input from the commissioners by the end of this month, but the staff recommendation as of now is that we've done so much work on the headquarters in order to be ready for this operational year that we would like to recommend that we just keep the headquarters the way they are instead of exercising a whole new project to try to raise that headquarters or to relocate them. There's extra problem in doing that because it's right behind Lucy, and Lucy's an historic structure, and that would create a whole lot of extra investigation reports, historical reports, how it would affect Lucy, and whether Lucy could see the ocean if we raised that building. So, or I guess more properly, how we could see Lucy. But at any rate, unless the commissioners feel otherwise, we'd like to tell FEMA that we're not going to consider trying to rebuild that building at another location or to raise it, but we're interested in your input. The last part of what I want to say regarding FEMA is that obviously we have major work still to be done at Washington Avenue and the old City Hall. And as soon as Ed's report is finished, which I would expect will be in the next couple of weeks, he's been commissioned with FEMA money to advise us and to advise FEMA of what it would take to mitigate all that we can of further damage and to bring the building back to codes and standards. That is to come up to 2013 codes for electrical and all kinds of other things. We'll be in a position to then discuss reuses for that building. And I would like to hope that we can have some serious discussions on that in September.
What I'd like to do is, prior to issuing the final report, when we have a schematic design or layout of the first floor, if we could get together and actually make sure everybody's on board with that before we go further with the final estimates that are necessary.
Make sure we get Maureen involved as soon as possible.
Maureen has met with us already, but once we have a picture, that's what we need to do.
Okay. Mr. Abbott?
Be very brief, Mayor. We have it's alternate number 1, the resolution you want, and hopefully at the 5 o'clock meeting or sometime tonight, you'll adopt that resolution. It's my intent to make sure both the county clerk's office as well as county councilman, Mr. Ferguson, who's asked to see this, will have it tomorrow. You recall, originally we were told August 30 was a deadline for non-binding. That was changed once they got a closer look at it. I think they went very conservative, but we have to respect their wishes. So we will have the ballot question delivered to where it has to be tomorrow. I'll also bring to your attention for the next meeting, we're going to have the recycling ordinance, which I like to call the Franz Adler ordinance, is up for second reading, I believe. And also we have the ordinance amending our FEMA map too. There are some issues there, as always, as you're dealing with different arms of the government, but nothing I think that we can't handle or the other communities in South Jersey can't handle. One of them has to do with ICC money. There's a lot of minor issues. But for the most part, that ordinance needs to be, I think it's our second reading as well on that one. Very important ordinance to help people move forward with rebuilding or building new their homes. That's all I have.
Thank you, Scott. Tom?
The only thing I have is we're continuing the annual process of collection of water and sewer delinquent billing, where we build them, send out delinquent notices, which we've done already, put out the disconnect notices, which we've done already, and we've whittled that list down from 300 people who didn't pay down to about 30, and the next step that takes place each year is the actual shutoffs. So we have about 30 properties where next week Frank's guys will be going out to make the shutoffs, and I just wanted to let you know that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Fred? Jim?
Fred gave us the wave off. I put on the table a flyer that offers $50,000 interest-free money for anybody who is low income or moderate income. And what they want to do is they want to get you back into the island. This $50,000 is available to people to purchase a home in a flood-prone area. It's a low income, moderate income, which means that it's probably around $50,000 to $60,000 of income for a couple. It's got a lot of criteria on it. It doesn't look like it's an easy program for anybody to really get that low interest unless you were a low-income individual. My other thing I have is we had 42 new houses were CO'd as of August the 6th, and we had $25,454,000 worth of construction costs. And that's all I have.
That is. Thank you. Maureen?
No, it's been pretty quiet. The only thing I did let everybody know that Deanna's father had passed away in South Carolina, so she's been out this week, but she'll be back Sunday, so back to work on Monday. So that's about it.
Chief?
Just to follow up on the inquiry regarding the driver from yesterday's accident at the firehouse, she was treated and released from the hospital last night, so she's okay.
Good.
And the other thing, we are firmed up for the 24th for the thrill show, which will be approximately noon, so we're making preparations for that. Otherwise, everything else is good.
Thank you, Chief. Rosie? Brenda, do you have any?
I just have a couple of things. Regarding communication between the mayor and commissioners and the administrative office for the mayor and commissioners, I didn't know about it, and I don't think Commissioner Blumberg or our department heads knew about the dedication on Jerome Avenue for Mr. Wallenberg. I would have been there had I known about it. And the advertising for the 6:30 meeting, I received my robocall yesterday for the meeting today, so I hope that enough people know about it to come to this important meeting. I also asked if it could be videoed and maybe put on Channel 2 or something, but I found out this afternoon again that we couldn't do that. And the people who answer the phones for the mayor and commissioner's office didn't know the date of the July meeting. So, and Agus used to do schedules for us. So suggestions from the mayor and commissioner Rich on how we might improve the communication a little bit, that would be great. On a positive note, I wanted to thank our police department and specifically one of our detectives, Detective Joe Scullion, for his personal help to me. The year of my 25th wedding anniversary, my wedding ring disappeared from my home. I called the police department, called the chief, and I filled out the paperwork with Detective Scullion. The good news is we found the ring, we found out what happened to the ring because of the professional efforts of the detective, but disappointed that the ring wasn't returned, but I'm relieved to know what happened to it. The mystery's been solved, and thank you, Chief, and thank you to Detective Scullion. Regarding the meeting at 6:30 today, my hope is that everybody will be respectful and polite, whether you're for the dunes or against the dunes. It's important to remember that they're offering us a $20 million project, and that the government is already, the federal government, this is a 100% federally funded project. And the federal government is already committed to give, so far, reimburse the city 90%, which is $2.7 million. So whatever your feelings are, just please, let's respectfully disagree or agree, whatever your view is. And that's what the referendum's for. You know, vote yay if you support it and no if you don't. I agree with one of our residents who recently called Shangri-La, who described Margate as Shangri-La, and Margate is a Shangri-La, and it will continue to be with or without dunes. That's all.
Maury?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, it's like the second or third time that I've heard this dunes project being referred to as a $20 million project. I don't recall ever hearing that from anyone at the Corps or the DEP. And personally, if we're going to ask taxpayers to pay $20 million for dunes in Margate, I would prefer to ask them to give us $20 million, and we'll build the dunes ourselves. We'll commit to building the dunes. Give us the $20 million. What's ever left over, we can spend any way we would like. And I'm going to say that I believe that those dunes, based upon what other towns have paid for dunes, are probably more in the neighborhood of going to cost $4 or $5 million. So to bamboozle the people and lead them to believe that this is a $20 million project, I don't think is accurate. And I've seen it a couple of times. It's one of the questions I'm going to ask tonight at the 6:30 meeting. Secondly, I want to congratulate and say thank you to the Margate lifeguards for representing Margate famously well in all the races, but specifically as hosts of the Margate Memorials and the South Jersey Championships. Not only were the events very, very well run, but we performed admirably, and all the lifeguards make Margate look really, really good. And on a second note, another congratulations goes out to Yogi Hiltner and the Margate Hurricanes County League team, who last night swept the County League Championships, representing Margate on the front page of the Atlantic City, the front page of the sports page of the Atlantic City Press, sweeping the championship and winning the championship 7 of the last 8 years. So that's a great, great group of kids, and I encourage everybody next year to go out and support that team and watch the games. It's the closest thing to minor league baseball that you can possibly get. Some of these kids are really, really, really talented. So congratulations. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I'm just going to make a request, and that's that everybody remain civil. We're all family. Whatever side of the issue you're on is okay. We can disagree. We should disagree respectfully. And one last thing, and then we'll go to public comment. The question of referendum is the only thing this does is put this on the ballot at the beginning of November at the election, allowing the people of Margate to speak. It doesn't commit us to anything. There's no financial commitment. Will there be cost? Absolutely. And as we go down the road, we will try and hone in on that cost. But it's going to be a yes or a no. If it's no, it's done. If it's yes, you're telling the government of Margate to pursue more information. Plain and simple. That's my interpretation. We will now open to public comment on anything that you always heard here today. You have 3 minutes.
Mayor, I did forget that the gate is going to be open for the schoolyard. The people want to park there tonight if there's parking issues tonight. The gate will be open.
Thank you for taking care of that, though. Being no public comment, is there... No, I'm kidding.
In Pecos, 200 North Osborne Avenue. The Dune project is quite a surprise to me, mainly because, am I getting feedback here?
You are.
Because I thought the plan of attack was that Mr. Blumberg, who's concerned about the community and the money, then why is there such a problem? Why aren't we just going to have the community vote? Yes, I want the dunes. No, I don't want the dunes. And then we can proceed from there. I don't know what the big problem is. As obviously it was said in the paper today, we're the only ones that haven't made a stand. And basically, I assumed that we were going to have a referendum and vote, yes or no. Mr. Abbott, do we hear what the particular statement is made for this vote? Do we know what it says?
Mayor, I don't understand the question. What was the question?
She wants you to reread the wording.
Right now, we have alternate 4 on the table.
No, alternate 1.
Well, I thought you already said that you had the statement ready to go to the county. Are we going to hear what the statement is that we have to vote on?
Yes.
Because it seems like there's a confusion. Some people are saying it's going to say, yes, we want the dunes, or no, we don't want the dunes, and then there's another one saying you're going to vote on a feasibility study to decide. Let's spend more time on a feasibility study. Is this the, I don't know, is that what it is?
It's a yes or a no.
Yeah, I bet she's asking about the wording, because that's why I wanted to change the wording to be the way it is, because I thought it was a little too wishy-washy and ambivalent before. So if we go with alternative 4, it doesn't say we're going to look into the feasibility. It says it's, the question, if approved by the voters, will give direction to the Margate City Board of Commissioners to enter into a cooperative agreement. Want me to keep reading?
Yes.
Okay. So as to implement the aforesaid Absecon Island Shore Protection Project. The Shore Protection Project will include a beach nourishment and construction of sand dunes on the public beaches of Margate. The initial placement of sand and dune grass has been advised to be free. Costs for obtaining easements from residential property owners and the fishing pier, as well as future cost of maintenance and replenishment, are unknown at this time. So it's a little stronger than I think what was in the paper, but...
Now I'm confused. We said alternate number 1, did we not?
That's what I thought.
Or is it alternate number 4?
It's alternate 4.
Okay.
Doesn't have the cost in there, and it's the wording that I sent you the other
So
night.
what's the difference between 1 and 4, Scott? Because 4 we just got this afternoon.
Okay. 1 said, give the Board of Commissioners to further investigate and determine the feasibility and costs of Margate entering into a cooperative agreement. 4 is, give direction to the Commissioners to enter into a cooperative agreement so as to implement. So there's a slight change. 1 says, further investigate and determine the feasibility and costs, and the other one says, give direction to the Commissioners to enter into a cooperative agreement. That's
Just
the
in my
difference.
opinion, it's a non-binding agreement anyway, so I don't think we need to be so nebulous and talk in circles. I think we can just simply say, give direction to the commissioners to move forward.
If we're talking about democracy here, and you're telling us that the people in the entire community, and Commissioner Blumberg, you want them all to be involved, why wouldn't we be voting yes or no? We either want the dunes or we don't. I don't understand.
Well, that's what this does, so you don't understand.
I do understand that, Maury, but I'm asking, is that going to be...
That's exactly what this does. Yes. The answer to your question is that's what this does.
Okay, so the statement on the ballot is going to be, will the community agree with the dunes or will they not? And there's a yes or no vote. Is that what's going to appear?
Pretty much, yeah.
If that's it, fine.
Is that not correct, Scott?
Well,
When we boil it down to...
no, it's a little bit different, if I understand her question.
I understand what she's saying, but Scott, you addressed it.
Once you have the contract finalized and these costs determined, then we have an ordinance we have to deal with that says that agreement to enter that contract has to be voted upon. So, at least in my mind, unless we take steps to rescind that ordinance, the one that was put in about 10 years ago, when there's a final contract with dollar amounts, then there's another determination by the voters to sign that contract. At least that's how I see it. But this is advisory. This is not binding. This question is to tell the governing body, go do the title reports, go do the engineering, figure out the costs, if any. That's how I understand it.
Okay, I'm just saying that the community at large, if they find that at the ballot box, they are not going to be able to vote, yes, I want the dunes, or no, I don't want the dunes, I do not feel that that is fair to the people of Margate. That is not democracy.
I don't know how we can get more democratic than this. I really don't agree with it. And it's not to vote for dunes. It's to vote for a cooperative agreement, which includes dunes and beach nourishment.
But you're talking about saying that we're going to go through another study before...
Well, it's not really a study.
All right. All I'm asking, is that what the people are going to vote on? Yes or no for the dunes?
Okay.
I think that's why we need to go with alternate number 4.
Okay.
It's more
Your
clear.
time's up. Thank you.
My 3 minutes are up, but I hope...
Thank you. Thanks. Vaughn Reel, 6 North Mansfield. Quick question before I launch in here. My understanding is this is the work session. We'll have the public session afterward where you guys will actually vote on which one of these resolutions you're going to pass. And just to clarify for you, and by the way, I know we're supposed to have 3 minutes, but she was up here for 10. But Ann, just to clarify for you, the City of Margate has an ordinance on the books that was wisely passed by Mayor Ross, Commissioner Rim, Commissioner Markowski. And after they went through the same frustrating exercise that I experienced and that this commission has now experienced, where we dealt with these people for 6 months and couldn't get an answer on vital questions, these guys passed an ordinance that said, before this city votes on this commission needs to have 2 people vote yes to enter into a contract. Once they vote yes to enter into a contract, then it's supposed to go to binding referendum. The spirit and the clear intention of that law is that the commissioners, in their leadership responsibility, fully vet the contract, fully address all concerns, and understand every detail of the 50, now 40-year contract that we're about to enter. And it's 40 because the contract is 50, project is 50 years is 50 years long, and we're 10 years into it. And if you're not clear on that, that's other good question for the Army Corps. Now, the other thing I just want to mention here, in 2001, Margate's cost, our 9% cost, was $973,000, not including the extension of the pier, not including the extension of the 4 big black outfall pipes. And if you don't want to do the 4 outfall pipes, you either have to push the dunes out further, or you reverse all the drainage on our beach blocks, which at that point in time was priced at $7.4 million. Let me give you a little more background. Ventnor's cost this year for a renourishment is $7.4 million. At 9%, their cost this year for a renourishment, not for a building, would be $630,000. It is being waived due to some odd circumstances. However, that would be their cost. 630,000 years, you do a replenishment every 4 years, over 10 years is $6.3 million. That's the way this honestly needs to be represented to the community. Now, Commissioner Blumberg, you and I agree on very little. We agree on this one, okay? Commissioner Becker, at the meeting, I saw you at the races on Saturday or Friday night, and you said this was to see if the voters wanted the city to pursue additional information. If you put on that referendum that this is a theoretical yes or no whether the city should move forward with the project, you are A, abdicating your leadership, and B, you are putting the city in a position where we're going to have 2 vicious battles over a referendum, and that's wrong. It's a disservice to the citizens. Buck up, do your homework, then bring it to referendum once 2 of the 3 of you agree that we should join this contract. Thank you.
Sewell 22 West Drive. I wish to take issue with the solicitor's comments a few moments ago about finalized cost. I don't think there's such a thing as finalized cost with the Army Corps of Engineers. They fudge the numbers so bad, so often, and have municipalities on the hook for tens of millions of dollars, as in the case of Avalon. And the idea that these dunes are somehow a panacea. If you were listening to the county executive, Denny Levinson, he is against the dunes. He is 100% backing precisely what the solicitor was backing when he was vendor's solicitor, and it was a master J. And instead of at the end of Longport, the solicitor wanted it at the end of Fredericksburg to cut off the sand for Margate and his private beach. I say there's such a snafu with the Army Corps of Engineers. No fiscally responsible person would ever sign an open-ended contract. And solicitor, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because I believe that you really want to be fiscally responsible. And because these Hilalias want to sign off on an open-ended contract, have enough backbone to tell them they're wrong. They're dead wrong. And look what happened in Timmy's little paradise down there. Because the Army Corps put the dunes in without any drainage, one-way drainage pipes, when that sandy storm came, the water beach block flooded the home with something fierce. Millions of dollars in damages. And you know that's not included, solicitor, in their magic finalized numbers. And don't try to tell us different, because that's what they call a betterment. But it ain't better for us. It ain't better for us one iota. This is a flim-flam scam and con, solicitor, and I think you have an ethical duty. You have an ethical duty as a counselor and solicitor to tell these people the truth, including what that city clerk said, that the nor'easters wouldn't be covered. Now, the mayor may not be able to recall, and his cohort and co-defendant and co-conspirator was too young. She was still soiling her nappies. But the bottom line is that the 62 storm, counselor, would have chewed every last grain of dune away in 45 minutes. 45 minutes disappeared. The only real solution is what the county executive, Dennis Levinson, is calling for. And that's a master jetty at the end of Longport. I think I've said enough.
I wasn't born in 62.
Anyone else?
Sharon Simon, 424 North Thurlow Avenue. Let's say the project costs $20 million. Let's say it costs $50 million. Let's say it only costs $10 million. And we know all the answers. Is it worth it for 20 more minutes of protection? Is that statistic accurate? The experts say that if we do the dunes, we'll get 20 more minutes of protection. Is this what we're arguing over? Hello? Is anybody out there?
That's what I've heard, but I guess that question should be for Commissioner Taube.
I can't comment. I don't know where that statistic came from.
Because apparently these dunes are going to protect the entire city of Margate.
No. Let's stay with the question. What we need to know before we enter into any of this, how much more protection are we getting? We don't even know what we're buying. We already know we don't know. These are so many unanswered questions. And I think Mayor Becker, and I'm going to side with you, Mayor Becker. Yes, Mayor Becker, I'm siding with you because I think you're stuck right in the middle, and you are the mayor, and you have to answer to the governor and to, New Jersey and everything. And you got Ms. Taube, Commissioner Taube over here doing all this behind the scenes with Bill Dixon and Ben Kaiser. And then you got Maury over here saying, no, we don't want it. And then you're stuck right in the middle. You are the mayor, even though we all get equal votes. So I understand your position. But the first thing is, how much protection are we getting? And whatever it costs, is it worth it for that? And the second is, Mayor, again, I agree with you. It's up. All we're doing here is asking the people to vote, yes or no. but they have to understand what they're voting on. You've seen already people in these meetings, they don't understand it. Some of you don't understand it. The Army Corps doesn't. It's nothing from simple. So it's not simply a yes vote, no vote. But Commissioner Traub, you said in this meeting, you said in many meetings, I didn't know this, they're talking behind my back. Why didn't we? The communication. I just want to give you an example. This is fine for everybody else when you're not included, but here's a copy, an Oprah email from Brenda Tobby, May 23rd, to Bill Dixon and Ben Kaiser. Hi, Ben and Bill. Good news. Great article in Press of AC. An interview with Keith Watson. Bad news. Former Mayor Von Reel opinion letter in Press of AC today. This is why we should have public meeting earlier rather than later, so misinformation doesn't grow legs. I think unless I'm misunderstanding something, well, we're all misunderstanding a lot because we don't have the information. Doesn't say that in my commentary. Unless I'm misunderstanding something, that he's way off on the financial burden to the city. He's been a mayor, he's in business, he has a lot more experience than you. So instead of talking to Von Reel and trying to learn what information's out there, you're throwing him under the bus.
You know what, Mrs. Simon, I resent the fact
You
that
can resent whatever you want, but this is my
behind the
time.
scenes.
I'll copy both the story about Phil and Dunes and Von's letter below, so you can read it. By the way, Bob Geist in Lobiondo's office informed me that neither he or Congress Lobiondo can attend closed session meeting. Apparently, the office is uncomfortable about weighing in on the matter federally.
15
Frankly,
seconds.
I don't feel like it's an issue. It would be nice to have his office represent the sort of share the efforts of funding. Thank you, Congressman Lobiondo. But the key issue, I believe, is communicating the correct information out to the public. Simply educating them, which is not simple as we all know, so they can make an informed, knowledgeable vote when it's referendum time. Have either of you heard from mayor or other commissioner? You did this without copying anybody.
Can I
Comment on it.
You may sit down now. Mrs. Simon, I run the meeting, I make those decisions. You may comment.
And I'd like to comment on that because Mrs. Simon brought this up a couple meetings ago too, that I met behind the scenes with the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEP. That's ludicrous. Thank goodness I met with them in April because guess what? We were able to get into the Army Corps report so that this could be 100% funded and not 91% funded. So I stand behind that email and I stand behind my efforts to learn as much as I could about this project. And in April, I wanted to start these meetings in May, but the rest of the commission thought it was too soon. So I'm proud of the work that I've done, and I'm sorry that you're not happy, but my job is to most of the people in Margate.
Ms. Berger.
Hamburger 9402 Amherst Avenue. I have first a suggestion and then I have a comment about the news. First, the suggestion would be that as far as the resolution is concerned, I think that if in between meetings, between this one and the next one, if 25 or 30 copies of that was made up and distributed to the people in the audience here, so we could actually read what you were saying, so we could formulate and look at the differences between them. I didn't fully understand the individual options. You know, I represent probably the single largest organized group in the city. The head of the Margate Concerned Citizens behind me didn't have a firm grip on what the different options are. I'm sure the other people in the audience didn't as well. So that would be a suggestion I would make to you so everybody could take a look at it. So when you do make your decision and ask for public comment in the next meeting, that everybody's fully informed of what the options are as far as the resolution is concerned. The comment I would like to make on the Dunes project, and this is as an individual that lives on Amherst Avenue, and I know that there are somewhere between 6,500 or 6,800, Tom, different households in the city of Margate. You know, how many of these individual households are actually going to be impacted on a direct basis by a Dunes project? I can tell you that by someone who's living on the bay, that the Dunes are going to do nothing for me and my family. that the households that are on the bay, and it was the bay that flooded the city just as much as the ocean that flooded the city during Sandy, because it was a flooding event. It wasn't a wind event. It wasn't a hurricane event. It was a flooding event. And in a flooding event, the dunes don't do anything. In many cases, the dunes will keep the flooding in. But unless the city of Margate is prepared to make the same type of dramatic commitment to the bayfront as it is to the ocean, then the efforts that are being made are futile efforts, because water will find its own level. And if it doesn't come in the front door, it's going to come in the back door. So my suggestion from a homeowner standpoint on the bay is that I would be opposed to a dune project, because it's not doing anything for anyone except on the first beach block of Margate. It's going to knock down the waves for a period of time. A replenishment project that sends the beach out further, that knocks down the waves further, will have some more impact on the city. And that's why if I was going to, again, endorse something, I would endorse something like a major groin project or a major jetty or a master jetty project, because that would impact the wave impact on the fronts of the city. But still, as someone who lives on the backside of town, the dune project doesn't do anything for me, but I'm going to be asked to pay my equal share for it.
But it might do something. It might do something for some of the business owners, and that's a good question to ask at the 6:30 meeting. How many people are going to be affected, and how?
Are you going to be at tonight's meeting?
Oh, yeah, I would miss this for the world. Yeah.
And I want the public to understand that all these questions are good questions, and you should be asking them tonight.
I'm prepared to, Mayor, but again, as I said, on the question of the resolution, until I can sit down and read it and try, I can't comment on that, because, it was just...
And I apologize to everybody. Yeah. We're under the gun here. This has to be in tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dan Gottlieb, 407 North Nassau. I want to just dovetail on something Mr. Berger just said, and that is, we've got 4 resolutions in front of us, and we have until tomorrow. I mean, this is really a railroad operation that I feel as a citizen that we're being led down. And I just think we've got these looming time deadlines that are astonishing. And Hurricane Sandy happened in October. It's now August 15th, and our deadline is tomorrow, August 16th. That was just a little dovetail. I just don't understand why we're feeling this pressure at this point. I want to talk about 2 quick things. One is quantitative, one is qualitative. I'll address...
I just want to say, though, that the resolution is the pressure on us, but everybody has until November to decide whether they're for or against, so that's all. That helps.
It still feels like a pressure situation to get a resolution before we have fully understood the costs. And I know I feel that way, and I would think that all of you would feel the same way. I'll address first the quantitative part of my comments that'll be very brief, only because I think the quantitative aspect of this is the big unknown. None of us are coastal geologists or engineers, so it's very hard for us, even though some of us may have lived here all our lives, and think we have a pretty good common sense understanding of the 2 storms that we've had in the past 50 years and what they've actually done and how it's impacted our beaches. Quantitatively, there was something that was mentioned, Brendan, I think you may have brought it up. Congress doesn't provide future funding for renourishment if the money's not available. And we know how tight budgets are in Washington today. We know how tight budgets are in New Jersey today. That's a big, big unknown. Because what my concern is, and this leads me into the qualitative aspect of what I want to discuss, is that if we lose the renourishment and we can't get the funding, not only is that a very expensive proposition, but then the qualitative aspect of our lives and what all of us have enjoyed so wonderfully post-Sandy this summer, post-March 62, could potentially be in jeopardy. And what I mean is this. A normal day, it's high tide at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the renourishment is gone with the next nor'easter, the funding's not available, where are we going to sing? How much room is there going to be? And I know this is a question for 6:30, and I will ask that at 6:30. But my final remarks are this. The press in the editorial page today said the project in Margate is a no-brainer. Well, It's obvious that it's not from everything we're going through here. I'd like to just go on the record to refute that editorial because it said Surf City residents are begging for the Army project. Well, of course they are. Surf City has low-lying, and I called there today and talked to their streets department and their people who head up their beaches. They have low-lying, flat, narrow beaches with no bulkheads. So it's not an apples and apples comparison. And I think the press did a disservice to its readers today when it compared us to Surf City. I think we have bulkheads that make all the difference in the world and were rendered basically useless by the sand being piled up against them prior to Sandy and caused a ramp and a launching pad for the water to come up and over. That's about all for my comments, and thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
Stephen Altman, 9003 Amherst Avenue. A lot of hard work has been put in by the people in front of me. From one side of the room to the other, you've all have been remarkable during the crisis of Storm Sandy. A lot of good ideas came forward, a lot of hard work to change insurance and flood zones and so on. Ed made a comment about the people who live on the bay side of Margate not benefiting by a dune project. I have been arguing for, 13 years now, that we should change beach block parking because it was immoral to have a group of us to benefit by a perk, a political perk, of not having parking in front of their homes in the summertime. It's immoral. This would be the equivalent of that immorality. Not to have beach block parking for all of us is an immorality. We all pay the same percentage of our taxes that go to the roads, the sewer, the public works people who do such a great job, and so on. If we voted for dunes, we would be benefiting a small group of our community who live in the beach block, who have been blessed by great wealth, and God bless them for that. If they want dunes, let them pay for it, and they can keep their beach block parking restrictions. Why should the rest of us pay a nickel to defend their homes when they have literally spent thousands of dollars to keep the rest of us from parking on the beach block? A little bit further, I have said before this committee in the past that the original purpose for beach block parking started with Frank Farley, a perk for his girlfriend who didn't want the riffraff parking in her beach block. The riffraff is the rest of us. And why should the riffraff pay a nickel to defend our good neighbors who live in the beach block? They want the dunes, let them build them. But it's wrong to have these issues and ask us to pay for it. If you want to come up with some compromise that lets the rest of the city have access to the beach block during the summer weeks, then I say fine, we're all in the same boat together. The same boat that you folks have worked very hard since Storm Sandy, and I'm proud of all of you. But asking us to pay a nickel for another perk for the same beach block is utterly immoral. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Commissioners, Steve Davidson, 209 North Essex Avenue. Quick question. August 16th, you have to come out for a binding election? You need to come up with that decision then? And August 30th, non-binding? Was that what I was led to understand?
No.
No, that's different. Okay. All right. Personally, I'd rather you all say yes, get a contract together, and let us vote on the contract. I'd rather, if you ask me to vote for dunes, yeah, I like dunes. I'll vote yes. Contract, another story. I need to know prices, what we're getting, all that sort of thing, how long we're in for. I would much rather vote for a contract than whether I like dunes. Thank you.
Anyone else? Double header.
I'll be very fast. Hello, I'm Annette Schultz. I live on the beach block of Osborne. And I'm very happy to say that we had no water and no damage. Very happy to say. As far as the dunes, I just don't see how it's going to work. If we have a major storm with that ocean coming forward, please tell me how the dunes are going to stop that. We have wonderful, not called boulders, what are they? The beachfront? Okay, which I'm very happy that we do have. So I wish you all luck and good luck with your decision. And I have to say, I've been here 46 years, and I love Margate very much. And I would hate to see the view ruined without any reason. There is no proof that those dunes are going to stop that ocean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Schultz.
Steve Warder, 103 North Sumner Avenue. I've been in Margate since 1949, okay, my entire life. And I've been through 3 major storms, all right, the 62 storm, the 92 storm, and the 2012 storm. And each one was different, okay? And I'll tell you, it taught me one thing: when the next storm comes, we don't know what it's going to be like, okay? So to say it's going to do this or it's going to do that, I'm glad everybody's got all these answers and all this experience, and it's going to be this and it's not going to be that. You don't know. You don't know what it's going to be, okay? If that storm had steered in 10 miles sooner, we'd have been devastated. We'd have got like they got up in Long Beach Island, but we didn't, thank God. So I remember the 62 storm. I was old enough to walk around and see it. I remember Manny Gottlieb's house at Rumson and the beach, and the waves crashed right through his living room, okay? That's what happened there. That was the 62 storm. I don't know what the answer is, but all that this is what is this great fear of putting this on the ballot and having people vote to explore what's going on? What's this fear? Let the people speak. Let them have their say. If they want the dunes, then they'll vote for the dunes. If they don't want the dunes, they'll vote against the dunes. And that's it. What's this fear? This isn't even a yes or no. This is just further exploration. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Steve. One more, please, and then or 2 more, I'm sorry. Are you?
Hi, I'm Carol Arman. I live on Dolphin Drive, and my house faces. We had damage from the dune in front of the senior citizens. Christmas trees come into our street. We had 3 feet of sand. We had to get a backhoe to remove the sand. I suffer from that dune on a weekly basis because the water drainage goes down, and I have water. Sometimes you can't even get to the beach because there's a pool of water that pools. The dune prevents the water from going back down. We have mosquitoes, we have algae, it's horrible, trash. It's like a sewer there. Just come and look at what it is. The dune didn't protect anything. It caused a funnel. I know these dunes will be a continual dune, but we had the water that we get is mostly storm water, and I don't know how the dune is going to protect. My question is, how does it protect the stormwater? We had a bad storm. It was on the news, on the Philadelphia News. It showed people canoeing and kayaking in Margate. We didn't have a hurricane. It was back on Huntington Avenue, back there. It showed, look at Margate. Well, it had nothing to do with the hurricane. And my question is, just as some other people have said, how is this this dune, with all the expense and changing the ambiance of Margate, walking over dunes, old people, people with children, dragging their stuff over, maybe not having a place to sit on the beach unless we replenish every few years. How is this going to improve the safety of our city other than maybe the first 3 houses beach block? I don't know how it's going to improve it. So I think that is a tremendous question that has to be answered before all the money is invested. The other thing is, I've been walking, half these people see me, I'm the beach walker. I am on the beach for 65 years walking. I walk from Ventnor, from the end of the Ventnor Pier to the point every single day. Margate beaches are much bigger in the 65 years that I've been walking on the beach than they were when I was a child. And why is that? Ventnor. When they started replenishing, we started getting more sand. Longport's beaches are huge now. I had to walk on the rocks on the jetty to get to the point. I had where the old folks' home was in Longport, I had to cut back around on the street because the ocean lapped up there almost every day. I don't have to do it now. They have a huge beach. It's the sand coming down. So we can spend all the money we want to replenish these beaches. Look what happened in Ventnor. George Wimberg and I used to laugh. I would see him on the beach in the evening, and he would measure, he would pace it off 5 years ago. He'd say, well, this week the beach shrunk 3 feet. I'd see him next week, it shrunk another foot. So if we want to keep replenishing every couple years at our expense, fine. Longport will have a huge beach. We can all go to Longport and sit on the beach.
Okay. Is there a motion to close public comment? Come on. Come up.
Can't let a pretty lady not talk. Can't let a pretty lady not talk.
Yes, we can.
My name is Carol Rose, and I live at 509 North Union, so I'm just a few blocks up. But I'm on a bay block where Union and Thurlow dead end. There is no bulkhead at the end of that street. It's one of the very few, if the only one in Margate, that Margate never built a bulkhead, and that's a major issue. We have drainage issues just for rain. My concern is if all the expenditure and the Army Corps of Engineers is so concerned about the beachfront, it's not just the edge of a piece of land, it is an island. It isn't even half of what the square or the linear footage is of the bay. So until you consider a total plan for the total circumference of the island, I don't see that you're really protecting the population and the real estate the way you think you may be or are considering. We don't have, I understand that bulkheads last a long time, and when they're built, they're now to be built at higher specifications than they were. But that doesn't help if you've got a 30-year-old bulkhead, for example, that's old, and no one's replacing it because they don't have the funds. We were devastated much more completely on the bay than on the beach. And maybe that does speak to the dunes that were there. Water has risen. I agree with global warming, and I can see it for myself in the 20-some years I've been in my home. But my concern is if something goes forward with the Army Corps of Engineers, why aren't they considering the total island, and why aren't they including the bay? If it's going to be a tax-foreign issue, let us all share fairly in the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll entertain a motion to close public comment.
I make a motion.
Second.
I'll make a motion to close.
Mr. Becker? Whoops.
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Blumberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Talby?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Blumberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Talby?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll take a very short break.